You folks want some pictures?
Sure. How about a shot of you pulling an ace out of your sleeve, Mason?
It's too early, Jake. Wait till the trial.
Always there with the answer. Now, Barker,
But if you boys and girls want the whole story right from the horse's mouth, here's the man to give it to you.
Mr. Mason.
Who's this?
Officer Harrigan, the man who recognized Ellen and me and brought us in.
Then it wasn't Buck.
I never said I made the arrest, Jake. Go on, Harrigan, tell them about it. Make it snappy. I take over from here, and I want to get these two booked and locked up.
Okay, Sergeant, if you say so. And should I mention the...
The reward? You bet. It's yours.
Well...
If Mason's going to keep his aces in the hole, Harrigan?
Yes?
How about a shot of you putting the handcuffs on Mason in the street?
Jake, of all the ghouls.
I didn't put handcuffs on them.
Look, my paper's a tabloid. We like handcuffs. You're not going to let a couple of steel bracelets come between us, are you, Harrigan?
Go on, Harrigan. You might as well make it good. They've been waiting for a story like this for a long time.
Oh, Counselor, you're killing me.
Get on with it, Harrigan.
Well...
You don't have to bother logging them. Okay, that does it.
Mr. Mason, Della, I wish I could tell you how sorry I am. Thanks, Helen.
Deep thanks. And because you're so nice, here's a special tip for your column.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm in on this, too.
More the merrier. Quote, you may tell your readers we're going into court Monday morning and blow these charges higher than a kite. Unquote.
Honestly, Mr. Mason?
Honestly.
How about telling our readers why you ran out on your client, Mary McKean, as soon as the going got tough?
We didn't do any such thing, and Mary knows it, even if you don't.
Della. No, let him make you talk out of turn.
Well,
We had things to do, Jake. We figured we could do them better on the outside of those iron bars.
Wait a minute, Mason. If you're trying to say you gave yourself up voluntarily, then the reward...
Voluntarily?
Oh, but we didn't give up, Sergeant Barker. The credit all belongs to Harrigan here. I'd hoped for a little more time, but the officer was too clever for me.
Well, now I...
However, I'm sure that our efforts will bear fruit. That ace in the hole you were asking about, Jake?
If you and Miss Street will step this way, we'll book you.
Sure.
You boys want pictures of it? You're welcome. Come on.
Give Officer Harrigan his handcuffs back, Ellen.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Here, officer.
Thanks.
Oh, Barker.
Yes?
Before we're booked, may I make a phone call?
What for, Mason? To call your lawyer?
No telephones until we hear from Judge Stallo about the bail.
Okay.
Step over the desk. You stay with me for a moment, Miss Street.
Well,
Split the crowd a little.
Would you look at him?
We'll try to do as much for you as we can, Miss Street.
very nice of you, I'm sure.
There's a phone call from Judge Stallo, Sergeant Barker. Bail set at $100,000.
Now you know how much you're worth, Mason.
I have to do a lot of figuring to find people who trust me enough to go my bond.
I'm good for $500, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Helen. Now all I need is $99,500.
The desk sergeant's ready for you now, Miss Street.
Okay.
I will need a telephone if I'm to raise that kind of bail. Can I speak to you a moment, Helen?
Of course.
Well, now
Beat it, Barker, or I'll skin you alive in my column.
But, Miss
Don't
Henderson-
get me sore.
All right. All right, Miss Henderson.
Ah, that petty chiseler. He's a disgrace to the force. What is it, Mr. Mason?
Can you do me a favor?
Hmm?
And keep it under your hat?
I promise.
Then will you phone Paul Drake for me? I'd rather not phone him from here.
The private detective?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what'll I say?
Tell him what's happened to me. Tell him I don't want to speak to him personally, but to get hold of that boy and his snapshots and to bring him to court Monday morning.
He'll know what you're talking about?
He'll know.
Get hold of the boy and his snapshots and have him in court Monday,
That's it.
Hey, no secrets unless I'm in on them, too.
Chief,
Yes, Della.
they're asking the same bail for me.
Well, that ought to make you feel important, Della.
Oh.
$100,000. Wow. Well, I'll contribute a sawbuck if you'll loan it to
Can
me.
we get a bond for $200,000, Chief?
Probably, but not tonight.
Then look, if you can raise one tonight, you take it. I don't mind a night in jail. The rest might do me good.
She's quite a gal, isn't she, Jake?
I offered a kick and a sawbuck towards her bond. Hey, Barker,
Yes?
how about paroling Miss Street in my care?
Oh, quit clowning, will you? And look, if you folks have had all the pictures you want, this isn't an open house.
Okay, we go. One question, Mason.
Yeah.
You licked? This is for publication.
Licked. Are you kidding, Jake? With the aces I've got in the hole?
Turn one over.
Oh, no, not now. If you want a peek, meet us in court on Monday. Date?
It's a date, bub. It's a date.
And an hour later, in a downtown bar and grill, we hear...
Sid, over here.
Hello, Mr. Murtaugh. You're ahead of time.
I try always to be ahead of time. Oh, what are you drinking, Sid?
The usual. I'll put your coat on the rack.
Oh, thank you. Waiter,
Yes, sir.
double scotch and lemonade.
A what?
That's right, lemonade.
Now I heard every...
Sid, took you long enough to get in touch with me.
Had a business engagement.
So your manager told me with a beautiful girl.
It was business.
How is business?
Couldn't be better. I got the news flash on the radio, Mr. Murtaugh. You must be feeling pretty good.
Huh? Oh, Perry Mason.
What a break for you, huh?
Depends.
On what?
Oh, lots of things. What Mason has up his sleeve. You.
Here's drinks, gents.
Have the lemonades for the other gentleman.
Thank you.
I'll take the check.
Here you are, Sid.
Go on, B.H.
Mason's a clever man. Suppose he let himself be taken.
Why?
Mr. Mason could answer that question. I can't.
And? Okay, I'll start it. You think maybe Mason has something on your client, Elizabeth Wren?
Possibly.
No, let's not be cagey, B.H. Isn't that where I come in?
It is. You see, there are indications that Mason was on the trail of information connecting Mrs. Wren with those unfortunate pictures that were taken of her sister-in-law, Mason's client.
I thought you said Doc Keegan would give her a bill of health.
Well, I like to have more than one string to my bow. Of course, there are disadvantages to you, Sid. For example, your business keeps you from being the best ace in the hole.
I don't like the idea any more than you do. I get up on the stand, and before Mason gets through with me, he'll make my rum appellers look like an opium den or something.
Yes, I've considered that angle.
On the other hand, if I had somebody to back up my story, somebody Mason couldn't tear down.
Oh.
I'm not saying yet. Well, B.H.?
No one has ever called me ungrateful, Sid.
You'd owe me a lot.
A very great deal. Now, who is he?
She, B.H. She.
Oh, one of your dance hall girls.
But what a dance hall girl. Her name's Tragg. Nora Tragg.
What difference does the name mean? Tragg?
Homicide Lieutenant Tragg's daughter. Is she good enough?
She'll do as you ask?
Nora'll swear black as white if she thinks it'll keep me out of a jam.
I've heard you're a devil with the ladies.
Well, from the reports I get, you don't do so bad yourself.
It could be.
Now, if I do this...
I'll owe you a lot.
But you won't use us unless you have to.
That's a promise. I'll keep you up my sleeve. My ace in the hole. Lieutenant Tragg's daughter, huh? The daughter of Mason's friend. Sid, that's a very nice ace in the hole. Just about as nice an ace as anyone could ask for.
And so while each side makes ready for the courtroom struggle, which is to begin next week, obviously the odds are all on the side of Liz Wren and her lawyer, B.H. Murtaugh. And yet there's that boy, that Maxwell Cook and his snapshots. Perry Mason intends to use him as a surprise. And speaking of surprises, there'll be surprises and fireworks aplenty next week, so be sure to join us, won't you?
Yes, Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, but that's not all. Tide also gets clothes cleaner than any other suds, any other kind of washing product known. In short, you can't buy anything that will wash your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Amazing Tide. And I'll tell you why. Tide, with its new Miracle Suds, not only leaves clothes free from dirt, but removes dingy soap film, too. Yet, with all this amazing cleaning power, Tide is safe. Yes, truly safe for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dull colors. And just listen to what Tide does for white sheets, pillowcases, and shirts. In hardest water, Tide gets them dazzling white, whiter than any other washing product known. And Tide keeps them white week in, week out, never turns them yellow. Next wash day, why not try Tide? Of all the washing products known, Tide and only Tide gives you all this. The cleanest, brightest, whitest wash you ever hung on the line.
Not too many hours after our last episode, when we heard Perry Mason and Della Streak booked on various charges, including that of kidnapping, we join Liz Wren and Nan Apthorpe as they drive toward court with their lawyer, B.H. Murtaugh. At the moment, they're listening to a news broadcast on the car radio.
And that is the international picture up to this moment.
And now some local notes.
Liz!
Oh, I'm sick
but he's going to say something about the trial. I know he's going to say something about the trial.
You'll be in the courtroom yourself in a very few moments, Nan. What difference does it make?
B.H.
Does it make a great deal of difference, Mrs. Wren?
Oh, of course not. No difference at all.
Yeah.
Naturally, anything the beautiful Miss Apthorpe wants, the beautiful Miss Apthorpe should get.
Not everything, Mrs. Wren. But if she wants to listen to a news commentator, I'd say that was an innocent enough pleasure.
Yeah.
And, of course, the most interesting event on the local legal scene will be the combined trial of Mrs. Mary McKean, Mr. Perry Mason, and Miss Della Street.
Good.
The trial begins in Judge Albert Dollo's court at 10 this morning. As you know, all three have been indicted on the unusual charge of kidnapping Mrs. McKean's year-old son. As you also may remember, Perry Mason, prominent lawyer, with his secretary, Miss Della Street, has been a fugitive from the police for several days. The two were arrested only last night. It will be interesting to learn what a man of Perry Mason's prominence will have to say.
You've heard enough, Nan.
I guess I've had to. But I did want to hear what B.H. Murtaugh had to say. You did have something to say, didn't you, B.H.?
Oh, a great deal.
I think you're both perfectly disgusting.
Why? Because we're holding hands in front of you?
No.
After all, you mustn't deny nature, Mrs. Wren.
Me and B.H. have begun a beautiful romance, Liz. Haven't we, B.H.?
Yes, my dear, beautiful.
That's why I got up so early this morning. I want to see B.H. in action.
Well, I hope I won't disappoint you.
I'm sure you won't. I'm expecting you to put on quite a show, and to begin right off,
Right
too.
off?
Really, Nan. This is an important trial, not some sort of a performance. And with Perry Mason...
Now, what are you so nervous about, Liz? Gee, I never saw such a woman. First, she's scared because Mason and his secretary get away. Now she's scared because they've been arrested and brought to book. No satisfying her.
And Mrs. Wren is merely wise enough to know Mason is a very clever man. And while we may have him in one sense, he may have us in another.
Something that mind of yours could never comprehend, my lovely.
What?
However, dear Mrs. Wren, I think I can relieve your mind.
Oh?
About any ace Mason may have up his sleeve. We'll be able to trump it. There's not a chance of his squirming out from under. Not now. So you needn't worry. Either about being dragged into a complete unpleasantness or a horrible thought of having your precious nephew and his trust fund taken away from you.
You're sure?
Mason may have been on the trail of something when he was arrested. But I have good reason to believe he didn't get far enough to do any good.
Can't you be more specific?
You may be called upon to testify, Mrs. Wren, and the less you know, the more convincing you'll be.
Well, you're the lawyer.
Another thing, you know you won't be able to be in the courtroom. As a witness, you mustn't hear the testimony of other witnesses.
If you say so,
Well, I can be in on it from the start, can't I?
Oh, yes, of course, my love.
Although it would almost be worth missing the whole show to be able to get up on the stand and rip Angel Face to pieces.
That's another thing. I ask you both to forget your personal feelings as to Mary McKean.
Oh?
And this applies to you in particular, Mrs. Wren. Your role is that of the devoted aunt who has every sympathy for her unfortunate sister-in-law, but out of love and duty you
I
feel
know
that-
how to act.
Listen, Liz is the best con woman going.
Just the same. Oh, well, I don't believe even as clever a lawyer as Perry Mason can beat what's in store for him. I assure you I'd hate to be in Mason's shoes, especially if his defense lies in an attack on you.
Then my alibi's arranged.
Very much so.
Well, tell us the joke, B.H. Let us laugh, too.
This I think I'll save, my dear, because it is priceless. But I can tell you this. Even if all our witnesses are discredited, which is unlikely after the drilling I've given them, we can still keep you in the clear, which means no matter what happens, you keep your precious nephew and his money.
Well, now it's some moments later, and we're in Judge Dallo's court.
No briefcase this morning,
I'm
Della?
sorry, Chief, but the bail didn't come through until so late.
It doesn't matter, baggage. I won't need a briefcase.
Oh?
All I need is word that Paul Drake is on his way.
Yes?
Our worthy opponent just came in.
Murtaugh.
Mm-hmm.
There's Nan Apthorpe and Liz. Right in the row behind him.
So?
Look at him. He fairly oozes confidence.
Well, let's do a little oozing ourselves. We have a few minutes before court begins.
Yes, but
Sit down, Della. And, for heaven's sake, smile.
Shouldn't the matron have brought Mary in by now?
Will you please stop looking around this courtroom and do as I say?
Mm.
Act confident. Smile.
I don't feel confident. Suppose Paul Drake didn't get those...
Supposing. Now. You know you can do better than that. More teeth, Della. More teeth.
You make me sick.
That's my secretary. Now sit down, open the book, and start making pot hooks.
Chief, if Paul had anything to report, wouldn't we have heard from him by now?
Della, we just came into the courtroom. I haven't been near the office.
Yes, but what if Helen Henderson didn't give him your message?
Baggage. Being arrested has done something to you. Of course she gave him my message. And of course Paul is going to find young Maxwell Cook and bring him and his pictures to this court. And of course I'm going to blow that grin right off of B.H. Murtaugh's face.
I wish I were as sure of it as you are.
Stella.
Yes?
You're losing confidence in your boss?
Oh, Perry, of course not. But, well, we've been in tight spots before, but never one like this. And you just stand there and grin.
It's a new experience.
Well, we can do without it. Don't you realize your future's at stake? All you've built up? And not only your professional future, not just the fact that you may go to jail, but Mary and that darling baby.
You haven't said a word about yourself.
Well, I don't matter.
Hmm?
Well, yes, I do, too, but not when you compare me with Mary and you.
Here comes Mary. Now, Della, please, cheer up. If she gets a look at you, she'll be scared to death. Especially if she knows we were arrested, which she doesn't.
I know.
Look at her face.
Mr. Mason, Della.
Oh, Mary, darling,
Oh,
I'm
thank
so
goodness,
glad.
Della, you're here. I knew you'd be here when court began. I only told them what you told me to say, Mr. Mason. They didn't get a thing out of me.
I knew I could depend on you, Mary.
And now you've done it. Now you've done what you set out to do. Now I can have my baby with me for good and all. Now we can send Liz Wren to jail.
Mary.
Oh, you don't know how happy
Mary.
I am.
Darling, Mr. Mason and I were arrested yesterday.
What?
No, it isn't as bad as it sounds. We were near the end of the trail. Paul Drake can carry on.
But arrested?
Mm-hmm.
Charged along with me for kidnapping David Jr.? But then how can you act as lawyer?
No man can conduct his own defense. And since we're being tried together...
But I'm...
Mary, I'm going to tell you the same thing I just told Della. You smiled when you saw me. You looked confident then. You keep right on smiling and keep on looking confident because we're going to win. That's fine. That's the stuff. You're a much better actress than Della.
Why, I resent that.
Mr. Mason.
I said we were going to win, didn't I?
Yes.
We are. I tell you now, we're on to something that'll send your sister-in-law right where we want her.
To jail?
To jail. Now...
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
I have a message for you.
Oh? Thank you.
Not all.
What is it, Chief?
Well, I'll find out.
Paul Drake?
Mm-hmm.
And?
Well, it was written early this morning. Paul received my message from Helen Henderson and is out following my instructions.
Getting hold of Max Cook and the snapshots.
Exactly.
What snapshots, Mr. Mason?
Photographs taken of you, Mary, and Jim Randall.
Oh.
Others, too, we hope.
But I don't understand.
Well, there was a crowd on hand when those pictures were taken. Among them, an enterprising young man who took some snapshots on his own.
Yes?
I'm hoping that in his collection he has one snap showing Elizabeth Wren on that set.
Oh.
Let me find one, just one picture tying Liz Wren into that swindle, and I'll make her sorry she was ever born. As well as put David Jr. back in your arms where he belongs.
Oh, Mr. Mason.
Oh, you've got the kind of smile I want you to have. Oh, just in time, too. Here comes His Honor. It appears we're about to begin.
Mason sounds confident, doesn't he? But then he doesn't know what B.H. Murtaugh is planning for him. Yes, there'll be surprises and drama aplenty as this courtroom fight unfolds, so join us tomorrow for sure.
The famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Harry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice. T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide gets cleaner than any soap.
Whoa, slow down, Franny. That sounds mighty good.
But it'd sound even better if you'd say something about Tide and those new sudsing discoveries.
Okay, Ted, listen to this. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known.
Music to my ears, Franny, and so true. Yes, Procter & Gamble's Tide gets clothes cleaner than any other known product made for washing clothes. You see, Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film, too. Yet with all its amazing cleaning power, Tide is truly safe for all your washable colors. In fact, Tide actually brightens those soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, towels, curtains whiter than any other washing product known. Sound almost too good to be true? Maybe so. But, lady, it is true. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's amazing Tide.
Tide.
Tragg lies helpless, hovering between life and death on a small back bed in the police hospital. Her lawyer, Perry Mason, is moving quickly to prove her innocent of the murder of Sid San Marino. How? Well, by showing the actual murderer to be Sergeant Bill Barker, who Mason also believes did his best to murder Nora, make his crime appear as suicide. What does Mason intend to do? He knows Barker is superstitious, and he intends to make use of this weakness to soften Barker up. And then Mason intends to hold a fake seance with Harriet Tragg, Nora's mother, in charge. And here he hopes to get a complete confession. An unusual way of trapping a murderer, isn't it? Well, now it's about an hour after the close of yesterday's episode, but just about noon, as Mason returns to his office.
No word from Paul Drake yet?
No.
Get hold of his office, Della. Never mind.
Impatient, Chief?
Yes, very.
Oh, you know, it's only been a few hours. Maybe it isn't easy to find some nice, damp, moldy-smelling clay. Here's some nice memos from Jackson instead.
Oh,
Well, they have to be answered.
Well, they don't have to be answered now. I'm not in the mood.
Oh, don't be so disgruntled. You can't be haunting Bill Barker every minute.
Well, I'd like to be. Well, that's the way I'm going to get Nora off.
I know.
And I want to get her off, Della, before she regains consciousness. For her mother's sake more than Nora's, I think. It's funny. Girl gets herself in a jam and... Oh, she's sorry. She suffers, but it's nothing compared with the sorrow and suffering of her parents. Oh, stop it. But remind me to never philosophize before lunch again, All right, let's have a look at Jackson's memo.
Oh. Saved by the bell.
Come in, Paul.
Oh, Perry. Hi, you gorgeous secretary, you.
Hi, Paul.
Oh, boy, did you hand me a job.
You got the clay?
No.
You mean to tell me
I got something better. Hey, give me a cigarette, somebody.
I don't have any. Look, I don't want something better, Paul. I want clay. I thought I made it clear that I wanted clay.
The chief is in a bad mood today, Paul.
Oh.
Here, have one of my cigarettes.
You don't have to tell me he's in a bad mood. Well, it's a fate worse than death, but I'll smoke one of your cigarettes.
Oh, you mean that the fate's better than buying your own?
Thanks. You'll be the happiest little lawyer in the world when you see what I've got for you, Perry. Right here in this leather case. I'll put it on your desk. You see, the trouble with you, Mr. Mason, is you do things the hard way.
Never mind the pitchman speech.
You want the smell of good moldy clay, so what do you ask for?
Clay.
Exactly, Miss Street.
So what should I have asked for? Roses?
Oh, we live in a scientific age, Perry. You want to build a bridge, you go to a construction engineer, right?
I don't want to build a bridge.
But you do want the smell of clay. So, to cut a long story short, I'll tell you where you get it. From an odor engineer.
What?
An odor engineer?
Exactly. Nowadays, they can duplicate practically any odor known to man, and a few that aren't. Let me demonstrate. Now, in this test tube, I have... Mr. Mason, don't crowd me, please. Give me a chance to unscrew the top.
Will you stop clowning?
There. There we have it. Now the cap is off. Will you sniff this, Mr. Mason? And tell your lovely secretary, with whom I am madly in love, what you smell.
Docks, smell, boats, tar, ropes, salt water.
Right. Right the first time. And now, Della, I'm going to try you. Yeah? No. Don't back away. Just sniff what I have in this tube.
What is it, Paul?
Won't hurt you. Sniff.
Oh, Paul. How can you do this to me?
She recognizes it.
Just before lunchtime, too.
Why, what is it, Baggage?
Oh, steak.
Steak?
Perfectly broiled steak. The kind I always order and never get a chance to eat.
Okay, Paul. Well, look, we're convinced about your order engineer. He's a great guy. But I swear...
Wait. I haven't come up with a flash finish. Give me a chance, will you? Now, ladies and gentlemen of the Perry Mason office, I hold in my hand a third container. Would anyone care...
Here, let me smell it.
You're spoiling my act. All right, go ahead. Here you are. Moldy enough? Clay enough? Sniff this, Stella.
No, I'll stay with the steak odor. Oh, well. Oh.
No likey, huh?
Oh, definitely not. Get me to shivers, Paul. Oh, that awful smell.
Oh, it's nothing but a clay smell.
Nothing but... It smells like a fresh tomb.
So you like my odor engineer, huh, Perry?
I'll buy him. How do you think Barker will like it?
I don't know, but I can guess.
Now we have to give Barker's apartment a dose of this.
All done. What? I was so sure of my ground, my clay smell, that I'm afraid I broke and entered Sergeant Barker's apartment.
Why, Paul!
Oh, no burglary. No, I left something. On the walls, on the woodwork, in the closets. As a matter of fact, the whole place smells like a nice, fresh grave.
Well, Paul, I take back all the mean things I've been thinking about you.
Oh, thanks. I'd rather have a bonus.
Yeah. And I'd like to have a periscope over that transom when Barker gets home.
Why, he sounds almost good-natured again,
Yes,
Paul.
I've been good-natured all the time.
Oh.
Just that I've been anxious to get started haunting Barker. Now that the thing is started, what was in that second bottle? That one you smelled, Della?
Steak smell? Good steak. No hamburger. Why?
Oh, nothing. Only just to show you that my heart is in the right place, if you like. I'll take you out and buy you a lunch to go with that smell.
If I like. Come on, Paul. Let's get started before he changes his mind.
A couple of hours later, on the back stairs of an apartment house on the west side, we hear
What's that?
whistling. Just a kid whistling downstairs. You're not nervous, are you, Daddy?
Well, yeah. Oh, why not?
What have you to be nervous about?
Huh. As if you didn't know. What do you think Joe Wygant would do to me if he...
If he knew you were a stool pigeon for me? He wouldn't do anything, Dottie. Not a thing.
Sergeant Parker,
As long as you play ball with the right side, Dottie, you've nothing at all to worry about.
Huh.
Wait till I get my key.
Oh, I'll be glad to sit down. Oh, my feet. You won't believe it, but I've been trying to save enough money to get a good pair of shoes for almost a year. Almost had enough once. I don't know why I had to get up this afternoon to come over here and report on Joe. You know more about what happens at the Rumble Palace than I do.
Don't talk so much. Go on in.
Oh, I could use that sleep. I work until 4 in the morning. Sometimes 5.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
It's kind of close in here.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. Maybe it'll be better when you open the window.
There's an exhaust fan. I'll turn on the exhaust fan.
Yeah, you do that. Hey, could I have a drink?
In the bar, right next to the radio.
Thanks. It's worse over here.
Over where?
Here, by the bar. This is Sid's bar, isn't it?
Was?
That's what I mean, was. Why do you think the smell should be stronger right next to Sid's bar?
How would I know? I'll open it. Pour us a drink. Here's a glass.
Even the glass smells.
I'll have to burn incense. Hold your glass. I'll pour you a drink. Here. One for me?
Hey,
Don't say it.
your hand's shaking. You're as scared as me.
The smell?
You don't smell like that. You know, even with the windows open, even with the fan going. It's getting worse. You'd think it would clear out with the windows open and the fan going. But I don't guess that kind of smell ever works like other smells.
What kind of smell?
You know it as well as I do.
What kind of smell?
Hey, don't make me say it.
I want to know.
Okay. All right. It's a dead smell. The kind of smell there is after people have passed away. You recognize it, too. I can tell by looking in your eyes. You recognize it. Hey. Sergeant, you think maybe because Sid's
No, I
gone?
don't think any such thing. You shut up about it. Barker pretends to be angry, does his best to work himself into a rage that will rid him of the sick, superstitious fear that fills his being. Well, Miss Mason, if you may have read the sergeant correctly, it may be that your first attempt to soften Barker up is working. It also may be that you are in for a surprise. We shall learn in tomorrow's exciting episode, so won't you join us? Perry Mason, a famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, is brought to you by Tide, Procter & Gamble's amazing new discovery for your whole family wash. Try Tide yourself, and you'll agree you've never used anything like it. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Perry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice. Tide, T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap.
Hold on now, Franny. There's some pretty wonderful new soaps.
I know it.
And some absolutely sensational new sudsing products.
I know that too, Bob. But I also know that Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them.
Yes, and I know it too, Franny. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. That's because Procter & Gamble's Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film too. Yet, with all this extraordinary cleaning power, Tide is safe, truly safe for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, pillowcases, and towels whiter than any other washing product known. Keeps them white, too, week after week. Never turns them yellow. And all this goes for your whole family wash, too. So, when you choose a washing product, remember this. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Tide.
Tide is dirt out T-I-D-E. Tide.
Chance, so come on out. Come out with your hands behind your head. Do you hear me, Barker? Are you coming out, or do we have to come in after you?
Perry Mason and Homicide Lieutenant Tragg stand on either side of the closed door, behind which they believe is the murderer, Bill Barker. According to the tip given Mason by a friend, Barker must be there. And Mason and Tragg are sure that Barker is well armed and desperate. Oh, we're going to come back to Mason and Tragg in just a few moments. But first, in the living room of the Tragg home, Tragg's wife stands beside a radio that is tuned to the police calls. Stands quietly as she hears...
Calling 387-415-12. Proceed to Edmund Street. 387-415-12. Go to Edmund Street. Block all entrances and exits. Barker believed hiding in store building. Barker believed ready to escape by boat from warehouse dock. River Patrol and Harbor Police will cover dock. Lieutenant Tragg already at scene. Take orders from Lieutenant Tragg.
Nora says...
Repeating. Calling 387.
Yes, I'm not
415. 12.
Police radio? Yes. Tragg made it himself, so he could tune in on all the calls. He likes to listen to the police calls, as if he doesn't hear enough of them during the day. It's like a motorman taking a ride on the streetcar on his day off. Tragg likes it. What was you saying about Nora?
Just that she finished all her eggnog, and that she's settled down to take a nap. Rate she's going, she'll be fine, out of bed in a couple of days.
Thank you, Martha.
But I'm afraid I won't be able to say the same for you. Huh? Sit down, Harriet.
Well,
And let me get you an eggnog.
Oh, no thanks.
You can worry just as well on a full stomach as you can on an empty one.
Well,
I learned that during the war, when I'd be without news of Dick for months at a time. Every time the doorbell would ring or the telephone, I'd worry that... Well, I couldn't go without eating forever, and I couldn't stop worrying. So I learned to worry and eat. Now, may I get you an eggnog?
No, not now, thank you. Your husband was killed, wasn't he?
In 1944. We were married in 42. We really never got a chance to know each other. He went overseas right after our honeymoon. He never came back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I don't mind talking about it. Maybe I sort of like talking about it. It was sweet with Dick. But I never got to know him. Would you think it would be wrong for me to marry again?
After 5 years? I should say not.
Because I may.
Oh, good.
It's funny. Here we are neighbors. Neighbors for how long is it? 2 years? And we hardly know anything about each other. But that's what I like about a city.
What?
Your neighbors have to take you at face value in a city. There's no gossip and no... Oh, not that I have anything to hide, of course. I heard your husband's name mentioned over the radio. Does that mean they've located that murderer, Barker?
Yes, they have.
And he's there, Lieutenant Tragg?
Tragg's there. They're sending squad cars to help him, but... Oh, I just hope he'll wait.
Oh, I'm sure he will. Stands to reason.
Well, I've got a hot-headed husband, Martha. I know him like a book. Maybe he'll start thinking that if Barker got shot trying to escape... See, my husband's a simple man. He wouldn't like thinking of Barker getting free. Oh, I hope he takes it easy and careful, but...
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I'm a cop's wife. I knew what I was getting into. I suppose by now I ought to be used to it. But this is something you can't get used to.
That's right.
What?
Get out of that chair. Walk. Do something. It's always easier when you're busy, Harry. Shall we go start dinner?
Well, it's
I know it's early. And I know that you want to listen to that radio.
Yes, I do.
But let's go back into the kitchen for a while, just the same. And we'll start dinner. I know we'll make a big dinner, a big victory dinner for Lieutenant Tragg when he comes home. Come on, Harry. Whatever the news is, you'll hear it soon enough. I know. And in the meanwhile, let's keep busy.
Back in a dingy third-floor hall in a waterfront tenement, as Perry Mason and Lieutenant Tragg stand tensely watching a door, we hear...
He's not coming out, Mason.
No, doesn't look like it.
Which means there's just one thing to do.
Wait for the squad cars.
Oh,
Tragg.
He's my pigeon. I want a piece of him before the other cops get here. You got the key to the room. Let me have it, Mason.
Look, Tragg, you've got a family. You can't do it.
That inside tried to murder my daughter. You think I'll let him get away with it?
Well, how does it help for you to wind up with a hole in your head?
Give me the key. I'm a big boy. Give me the key.
I'll unlock the door if you're so determined.
This isn't yours, Craig.
Oh, no? Let me see if I can work the lock and still keep out of the line of fire. See, I'm no hero. I just assume you're a reinforcement.
Unlocked?
Yeah.
I'll kick open the door and you stand back. I've got the gun.
There's nobody here.
That was a dumb trick, jumping in. he'd been waiting, you'd have got it.
Yeah, you'd have got him.
Which wouldn't have helped you.
I'd have been able to look your wife in the eye. Well, he was in here. You see that cigarette butt? It's still smoking.
Well, that's a fire escape. And you let me look out. The one down below couldn't get out if he went down. Closed at both ends. He must have gone up.
Oh.
Two flights up to the roof. Look, Mason. You go back downstairs and tell Della.
If you're dumb enough to go up that fire escape to the roof, I'm going with you.
Well, suit yourself. But I'm going first.
All right, come on. I'll help you.
Get up there.
Now I know what a clay pigeon feels like.
Nobody shot at us yet.
I don't think anyone will.
Huh?
I don't think Barker will shoot unless he has to.
I wish I felt that way.
He doesn't want to stand and fight. He wants to run. If he gets to the river before he's cut off, he stands a chance.
You're at the roof. I'm going over. Come on.
There's no sign of him.
He might be anywhere. Dozen roof entrances. Might be behind any one of them. Or gone. Well, we'd better find out.
Look, Trank, don't push your luck. The squad cars ought to be here any minute.
I want him first, Mason. Don't you understand? I want him first. Did someone move over there?
Some clothes hanging up on the next roof.
Let's have a look.
Well?
Now we'll find out. This horse is his hand. The boys will have the place surrounded in a minute. I think he's behind that clothesline. You hear those sirens, Barker? Then you know you haven't got a prayer. The street's full of police, Barker. And the river's full of harbor police. Don't be a sucker. Give up. Yeah, that'll be the boys down below finding out what's up from Della. Barker, don't be a fool. Give up.
Frag, there he is.
Huh?
To the left, behind those chimney pots.
Barker.
He's going to run.
Don't be a fool, Barker.
Oh, there's your answer.
Throw that gun away, Barker, and put your hands up. The place is alive with cops. Watch it, Mason. Have to jump here.
Frag, he's making for the other end.
Yeah, by the warehouse. We'd have him trapped by the warehouse. He's mine, remember. Missed again. He's jittery, scared. He'd never missed twice. Draw down your gun before I start shooting, Barker.
Frag, what is it?
It's my leg. My leg, I can't get him. They'll have him before I get him.
Frag, give me your gun.
You're not a cop.
He might get away. Give me your gun.
handle it. Of all the luck. And I wanted to get him myself. Where is he now?
Behind the shed. Frag, give me your gun.
All right, here. Don't let him get away, Mason. Don't let him get away.
I won't.
And don't be afraid to use that gun. You're my deputy, Mason, so don't worry about using that gun. Just worry about Barker getting away.
So Bill Barker makes his bid for freedom. And Perry Mason takes action to see that a murderer doesn't escape. Join us tomorrow, won't you?
Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, is brought to you by Tide, Procter & Gamble's amazing new discovery for your whole family wash. Try Tide yourself, and you too will agree you've never used anything like it.
Perry Mason, brought to you by Tide. T-I-D-E. Tide. Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle. Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Perry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice. Tide, T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap.
Hold on now, Franny. There's some pretty wonderful new soaps.
I know it.
And some absolutely sensational new sudsing products.
I know that too, Bob. But I also know that Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them.
Yes, and I know it too, Franny. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. That's because Procter & Gamble's Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film too. Yet, with all this extraordinary cleaning power, Tide is safe, truly safe for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, pillowcases, and towels whiter than any other washing product known. Keeps them white, too, week after week. Never turns them yellow. And all this goes for your whole family wash, too. So, when you choose a washing product, remember this. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Tide.
Tide is dirt out, T-I-D-E, Tide.
Stop a moment. Think how you'd feel if you were in Martha Smith's shoes. Can you imagine what it must be like to sit in a courtroom while one witness after another, honest witnesses too, give testimony, honest testimony, which make you appear to be a murderess? Can you imagine what it must be like? Is it any wonder Martha's face is taut and sprained, and she looks as if she were close to the breaking point? Well, we're going back to the courtroom in just a moment, going to watch and listen as Perry Mason fights to keep things from being too bad for his clients. But first, let's join the real murderer of Wilfred Palmer. Let's join Alan Whitlock, the woman who should be sitting in Martha Smith's place. Right now, Alan gets out of a taxi in front of the criminal court building. Says,
Do we go right into Judge Newman's courtroom over to Naples?
No, Miss Whitlock.
No.
Not till Mr. Noble's ready for you to give your testimony. Here, let me get the door for you.
Oh, I thought I could go right into the courtroom.
The witnesses are usually allowed in the courtroom only while they're giving their testimony. Wouldn't want them influenced.
There's so little I know about the law.
Lucky you.
Except one thing.
What's that? We turn left.
I shouldn't like to tangle with it.
Oh, we're not so bad.
I bet you'd be really mean to me if I murdered anyone.
I couldn't be mean to you.
Not even if I were a murderer.
Are you?
If I were, I wouldn't tell you. If I were and I were caught, as Martha Smith appears to be caught, do you know what I think I'd do, Officer Maple?
What?
I don't think I'd fight. I think I'd give up. Throw myself upon the mercy of the court. Isn't that the way they put it?
That's the way they put it.
You think the court would show me much mercy, Officer Maple?
If I were the court, you know what I'd do to you, Miss Whitlock?
What?
Here's the witness room. We go right in here.
Now, why did Alan Whitlock say such a thing? What can be in her mind? Could she have for one fleeting moment the fear that when she faces Perry Mason, he'll learn her guilty secret? Or was this just another thrill? Meanwhile, inside the courtroom itself, at the defense table, we hear...
Here's the water, Chief.
Thank you, Donald. May I have it, Mr. Mason? May I give it to Martha? Oh, yes, of course, Donald. Here, darling.
Donald?
Now, darling.
Donald, what I've done to you.
Drink your water, darling.
What I've done to you.
Try to pull yourself together.
Do you know what the prosecutor's going to try to do now?
Now, please drink this water.
No, Mr. Mason told me he's going to try to prove that you helped me plan Wilfred's murder.
He's already tried. Mr. Mason doesn't let him get very far, though. I'll take a sip of this water.
Oh. Thank you.
Love me?
Oh, so much. That's why I do.
Shh, darling.
Darling.
The day's almost over.
tomorrow won't be any better.
You mustn't believe that. You must know tomorrow will be better.
No.
And it will. Tomorrow will be just as good for us as today's been bad. Tomorrow, Mr. Mason will start our defense.
How can there be any defense against what they want to see us dead, Donald. They want to put us both in the electric chair. Oh, my darling, what I've done to you.
Now, darling, that isn't so. You'll learn it isn't so.
Ready to proceed, Mr. Mason?
Yes, I think so, Your Honor. In my client's name, thank you for the recess.
Mr. Noble. Mr. Bissell. John Bissell, take the stand, please.
Can't believe anything.
Who's this? The Justice of Peace who married us. Oh, well, leave him to me.
You're an active Justice of the Peace, Mr. Bissell.
I have my place right on the main highway, just over the state line.
And you,
can't miss it, Mr. Noble. It's homey. Couples come to me from all over.
Oh, then you perform marriages? Many of them?
Oh, hundreds. Hundreds of happy...
Now, Mr. Bissell, have you ever performed a marriage ceremony for anyone in this room?
Yes, indeed. Those two.
When did you marry them, Mr. Bissell?
Why, that's a matter of record, Mr. Noble.
But when?
The night of the murder.
You mean the murder of Wilfred Palmer?
Yes.
Remember the time?
Why, that's a matter of record, too. I think it was just after midnight.
Ah. So you married Martha and Donald Smith about 5 hours after that is, after Palmer was murdered.
I did.
How long would it take to drive from the city to your place?
3.5 hours if they're in a hurry. Average about 4 and a good road all the way.
I see. Now, you remember this couple distinctly.
Oh, yes.
Any particular reason?
Well, they were so very nervous.
That's all, Mr. Bissell. Your witness, Mr. Mason. Thank you. Now, Mr. Bissell, you say you've performed hundreds of marriages?
Every year, sir. Literally hundreds of marriages, yes.
So you've had a chance to observe many couples about to be married?
Thousands.
And you said Martha and Donald Smith were nervous?
Very nervous.
Mr. Bissell, let me ask you. How do marrying couples usually act?
Nervous.
And this couple was nervous?
Yes, but...
That's all. One moment, Mr. Bissell.
Yes.
Did this couple act the way most couples about to get married act? Come now, there's no need to be frightened.
Yes, that's it. They acted frightened.
Thank you. Mr. Bissell.
Yes.
You now say Martha and Donald Smith acted frightened.
Yes, well, I remember saying to Mrs. Bissell, she was a witness, I'll just bet there's something wrong with those two.
Well, that's different. You noticed there was something wrong with them.
I sure did. You can't pull the wool over my eyes. I had an idea that they were criminals or something.
Your Honor,
Be quiet, Mr. Noble. He's your witness.
But
You started this.
Sit down.
Go on, Mr. Mason.
So, Mr. Bissell, you thought there was something wrong with this couple.
I said so.
And why didn't you report them to the police? I'm familiar with the laws of your state, as I'm sure you are.
Yes.
Then you must know the penalty for performing a wedding ceremony when you're suspicious of the couple.
But I didn't know.
You're excused, Mr. Bissell.
I'd like to explain.
You're excused. Get off the stand.
Go on.
I'd like to...
If you don't mind, Mr. Noble, I'd like to say something at this point. Come here, Mr. Mason. I'd like you to hear it, too.
Yes, sir.
This court has always felt that the primary purpose of a trial is for the presentation of evidence. There are statutes based on good common sense governing the presentation of that evidence. You gentlemen know the rules as well as I. And Mr. Noble.
Your Honor,
Mr. Noble, in your eagerness to win this case, you are straining at those rules. I will not warn you again. As for you, Mr. Mason, when it's your turn to present evidence, please remember what I have said applies to you as well. This court will do its best to be just and fair. We'll also conduct this trial in an orderly fashion. We may proceed. As it's getting late in the afternoon, if you'd like to adjourn until tomorrow, Mr. Noble.
The state is near the end of its presentation, Your Honor. I believe we can finish it this afternoon.
All right, then. Call your next witness.
I'd like Lieutenant Tragg back on the stand again, but it will take a moment to get him in.
All right, get him. You recess for 5 minutes.
Perry,
Yes?
I just phoned Paul at the clinic.
And?
He has a dozen men out checking good leads.
Fine.
You don't want to save trouble and expense by getting the woman's name out of Martha, do you?
Well, if I try again, it'll just make her more stubborn. I'm going to do my best to make her come to me. I think I'll make everyone come to me.
What does that mean?
Oh, Noble's getting ready to wheel up his mystery witness.
Oh.
Right after Tragg. He said he'd finish this afternoon.
So?
So that means he thinks he's got us licked. He's going to try and wind up in a hurry, take all the fight out of me.
I don't get it, Chief.
I'm going to let him do it.
What?
I'm going to let him take all the fight out of me. I'm going to let Noble come to me, Della. Give him enough rope to trip himself. Give him enough rope to pull that name out of Martha in spite of herself.
You hope.
About Martha, yes. About Noble, I know. I'm going to let him build his case so high he'll splatter when it falls. Watch.
Knows he's up against a clever, ruthless antagonist, but he's found one weak point in Noble's character, overconfidence, and he's banking on that overconfidence to overbalance Noble. However, Mason's in for a shock tomorrow when Alan Whitlock takes the stand.
Perry Mason, brought to you by Tide. T-I-D-E. Tide. Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle. Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Perry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice. Tide, T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide is dirt. Our Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap.
Hold on now, Franny. There are some pretty wonderful new soaps.
I know it.
And some absolutely sensational new sudsing products.
I know that too, Bob. But I also know that Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them.
Yes, and I know it too, Franny. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. That's because Procter & Gamble's Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film, too. Yet, with all this extraordinary cleaning power, Tide is safe, truly safe, for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, pillowcases, and towels whiter than any other washing product known. Keeps them white, too, week after week, never turns them yellow. And all this goes for your whole family wash, too. So, when you choose a washing product, remember this. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Tide.
Tide is dirt out. T-I-D-E. Tide.
We're back in Judge Newman's courtroom. Outside, the early winter twilight is setting. At the defense table, a man and a woman sit close, their heads together. Martha and Donald Smith, accused of the murder of Wilfred Palmer. Paying no attention to the spectators who watch them so hungrily, Donald puts his arm around his wife, whispers, "Darling,
Donald.
don't act so trapped.
That's how I feel, darling.
Don't.
I feel so strangely. I can hardly breathe.
But you must.
I can't stand much more of this. Those eyes boring into my back, those voices, those awful
Martha.
people.
Court's almost over for today. You'll be fine after another night's sleep.
I'll never sleep again. I never want to sleep again. Or if I do, I hope I never wake up. Oh, no, I don't mean that.
I know.
I want to wake. I want to live. I want to be with you.
You will be, darling. Just
Just leave it to Mr. Mason.
I will, but...
And after this is all over, we'll have our honeymoon. A real honeymoon.
You think so, Donald? Do you really think so?
Of course I do. Now, give me a kiss.
Here?
Right here. In front of Judge Newman, Prosecutor Noble, and everybody.
And at the other end of the defense table, we hear.
4:05, Chief.
What, Bella?
It's after 4. Think Noble will be able to wind up his prosecution this afternoon?
He said he would. I guess he will, too, if he gets Trag in here. Oh. That Donald is being a good boy, isn't he, Bella?
Hmm?
Look at him. The other end of the table with Martha there.
No, they're sweet.
Yes.
They don't deserve this. It's almost time for the mystery witness, isn't it?
Yes, I imagine. After Trag. After Noble introduces Martha's glove.
Then, now he wheels up the big guns.
Yes, now he wheels up the big guns.
Yes, Lieutenant Trag, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Noble. Let's proceed.
I'll take over with Trag, Bella. See what I can do to spike those big guns.
Take the stand, Lieutenant.
Yes.
You've already been sworn.
Yes, sir.
Now, Lieutenant, I show you this object. Will you tell us what it is and if you've ever seen it before?
It's a woman's glove.
And?
The first time I saw it, it was handed to me by Detective Levinsky.
You have a sworn statement by Detective Levinsky?
Right here.
Please tell the court about it.
The glove was found by Levinsky on the service stairs during our investigation on the night of the murder.
Where, Lieutenant?
On the service stairs, right off the landing where Palmer's apartment was.
And this is the same glove?
I put a tag on it. Levinsky signed the tag here. I signed it blown here. The date and time it was found.
I see. Now, Lieutenant, there's a stain on the glove.
That's right.
You had the stain analyzed?
I did.
And what made the stain?
Blood. Human blood.
Oh, but I explained that. I explained that I cut my finger.
Miss, sit down. Sit down.
Oh, don't you see what they're trying? Oh.
Go on, Mr. Noble.
You have a statement from a laboratory chemist, Lieutenant Trag? I mean, to the effect that the stain is human blood?
I do.
So this blood-stained glove was found on the stairway leading to the floor on which Palmer's apartment was located.
Well, yes, of course, but...
You tried to find the owner of the glove?
Yes.
Were you successful?
Yes.
Will you tell the court how you did ascertain ownership of the glove?
Just a moment. Your Honor, we admit ownership of this glove. I object to further testimony on that point on the grounds that such testimony is immaterial and irrelevant. Sustained.
Well, Trag, you determined who owned the glove.
Yes.
Then what did you do?
Started looking for Martha Smith. We found her registered in a small hotel.
Under what circumstances, Trag?
She was with her husband, her lawyer, Perry Mason, and his secretary, Miss Street.
And what were they about to do?
Objection. How would Lieutenant Trag know what we were about to do? Sustained.
What were these people doing when you found them, Lieutenant?
Talking. The door was open.
Go on.
Miss Street and Mrs. Smith had traded coats.
Traded coats?
Miss Street had on Martha's coat, a tan one, and Mrs. Smith was wearing Miss Street's, the blue one. But they weren't trying to get away or anything.
That's enough. Your witness, Mr. Mason.
Thank you. Now, Lieutenant Trag.
Yes, sir.
You say Mrs. Smith's glove was found on the stairs leading to the floor of Palmer's apartment?
Well, that's true, but...
Isn't it a fact that those stairs connect with all floors of the building?
They sure do.
So it's impossible to say where whoever dropped that glove had been or was going.
That's right, Mr. Mason.
Yeah. Now to get on, Lieutenant. You have a report from the chemist who analyzed the stain on that glove?
It was blood, human blood, Mr. Mason.
Was the blood typed?
Why, no.
The chemist didn't determine the blood type?
He couldn't.
But he did manage to make out it was human blood.
That's right.
But since it couldn't be typed, there's no way of telling whose blood it was. Am I right?
Absolutely. It could have been anyone's.
Now, Lieutenant Trag, you say Martha Smith disappeared after the murder.
That's right. We couldn't find her for a couple of days.
Now, let me ask you this. Was there a warrant issued for her arrest when she disappeared?
Why, no.
Did the newspapers know you were looking for Martha Smith and publish that fact?
They did not.
Then, as a matter of fact, there was no way in which Martha Smith could have learned the authorities were looking for her.
No.
Further, as far as you know, her disappearance might well have been natural and legal.
Yes.
And when you found her, with her husband, Miss Street, and myself, did she make any attempt to escape?
She traded coats.
Ah, yes. She had traded coats. And you thought that significant?
I did.
Especially since Mrs. Smith's coat was tan.
Well, we got reports there was a woman in a tan coat outside Palmer's apartment.
The important tan coat?
Yes.
The one you searched for so thoroughly in Palmer's building? You did search for the tan coat, didn't you?
Well, no.
So, you found this girl, who had no way of knowing you were searching for her. You found her in the company of her husband and her lawyer, and because she was not wearing a tan coat, you arrested her?
Look here, Mason. I had the glove, and that coat...
Oh, then you'd have arrested her anyway, with or without the tan coat.
Sure.
Then the tan coat can't be so important.
But it is. I mean, just because she wasn't wearing it, I wish I'd never heard of a tan coat.
I can see why. That's all, Lieutenant Track. Next witness, please.
Well, that's that baggage. Now we get down to it.
Miss Helen Whitlock, take the stand, please.
Alan Whitlock?
Yes, I heard.
What interest could Alan Whitlock have in a case like this?
I don't know. But I'm going to find out.
Now, where do you live, Miss Whitlock?
363 Lincoln. The building in which the murder was committed.
Oh, yes. Yes, I think you were in the deceased's apartment when the police arrived.
I was. I was startled by a scream. I went to help Mrs. Powers. She's the building manager.
Now, try and put that terrible scene from your mind, Miss Whitlock.
I'll try.
And tell us, did you know the murdered man?
Well, not really.
But you'd seen him?
Well, we lived on the same floor.
I understand. Now, I ask you, Miss Whitlock, I ask you if you know the defendant, Martha Smith.
Well, I don't know her.
But you've seen her before. Please speak up, Miss Whitlock. No matter how painful it may be, I shall have to ask you where you saw her before.
Well, the last time, in a police lineup.
I see. You identified her in a police lineup, Miss Whitlock. And how could you identify her, Miss Whitlock? Had you seen her previously?
I had.
Miss Whitlock, I ask you, where did you see Martha Smith before? Speak up, Miss Whitlock.
All right, I'll tell you. I saw her coming out of Wilfred Palmer's apartment about 2 minutes after he was murdered. That's where I saw her. That's where I saw her.
Your witness,
It's a lie! It's me! It's a lie!
Well, there it is. A flat identification that puts Martha right on the scene immediately after the murder was committed. But, Perry Mason, if you go after Alan Whitlock too hard, if you begin to shake her story, you yourself, Perry, are going to be in jeopardy, as we shall learn. Join us Monday, friends, won't you?
Finds himself in what appears to be a hopeless position. He doesn't even know half the evidence the police may have developed against Martha Harold Smith and her new husband in the matter of the murder of Wilfred Palmer, blackmailer. But he does know it must be plenty, or they would never have been arrested and held on suspicion of murder. Now, Mason believes both Martha and her husband innocent. It looks like more than belief will be necessary to get them out of jail. Accordingly, Mason feels that the first step in the chain necessary to establish their innocence is to find other victims of Wilfred's blackmail racket. Somewhere in the city there must be someone who can give him the information he seeks. But it's a big city. Now, as as Mason brings the office car to a stop.
Well, end of the line, Della.
Uh-huh.
Get out.
Just a minute, please.
For what?
My coat's stuck.
Where?
There, it's loose.
Oh.
Have to take good care of this coat. Looks like it's going to be a long, cold winter.
Open the door.
Ooh. When I said a long, cold winter, I meant started early.
Oh.
You haven't said how you like my new coat.
All right, let's get around the corner in that apartment building.
You didn't answer me.
About what, Della?
About my new coat. Don't you like it?
Fine.
Thanks. You knew how many payments I made before it was mine, all mine.
It's a very nice fur.
That's better.
Only, I don't think I recognize it.
Well, as long as it looks all right, it doesn't matter what it's called.
Oh, it certainly doesn't. And it looks fine on you.
Nice and warm.
Good. Oh, did you remember to cancel those reservations at the hunting lodge?
Harry Mason, what kind of a secretary do you think I am?
Someday I'll tell you.
I just lived for that day.
All right, here we are.
You were going to walk right in?
If the door is on latch. And the door was on latch. We've had a break, Della.
Well, Wilfred certainly did all right for himself, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Now, come on. Never mind the interior decoration.
What's the hurry?
I just as soon not run into Mrs. Power.
Who?
The building manager.
Oh.
I'd like to speak to the maid if we can find her without any help.
Which way do we go?
The stairway's across the lobby, right next to the elevator. Okay?
Stairway, here we come, if I don't get bogged down in the carpet. Oh, this is nice. Now, why can't I live in an apartment building like this?
Try blackmailing. I understand it pays very well.
While it pays.
Yes, there's that.
I don't think I'd look very pretty with a knife sticking in me.
Well, that's blackmailing out as a career. Up these stairs.
I'm right. I knew it was a staircase the moment I saw it.
Very important staircase, too.
Oh?
The one Martha used trying to get to Wilford's apartment.
Oh.
Right here is where the police found her glove.
Only she hadn't been wearing gloves.
You mean if only she'd kept them on?
No, you should think there'd be a policeman around here.
Why?
Well, because
They've been all over the apartment, questioned everyone in the building. Stop trying to think for the police, Della.
Oh, me? Wait a minute. Gee, listen. There.
Sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
Yes, it does.
On the other side of the door. Wow, are we going to have another break?
Shall I open the door and see?
Yes, go ahead. Good morning.
What'd you say?
I said good morning.
Oh. Is your name Agnes?
That's right. And you're the people checking into the... Well, if you're checking, why'd you come up the stairs?
Well, we were just...
Well, how'd you know my name?
Well, we were looking for you, Agnes.
Well, I'm going to yell for the manager. Mrs. Power...
No, wait, Agnes, don't. We want to help someone.
Oh, cops, the reporters.
No, neither.
Well, whatever you are, get along. I've said all I have to say about the murder.
Agnes.
Go on, leave me alone. Mrs. Power will be on my neck.
Agnes.
I can't hear you, so you might as well beat it. Hey, what do you mean turning this off?
I want to talk.
It wasn't bad enough before he was murdered. But now Mrs. Power, well, she'll be fit to be tied. And who does she take it out on?
Agnes, you cleaned Mr. Peel's apartment.
His and all the rest on this floor to take maid service. But if you have any idea that
No, I haven't.
And anyway, I see by the papers that the police have the woman who killed him. The woman in the tan coat. So why pester me when I have 2 seconds?
That's the point, Agnes. The woman in the tan coat happens to be innocent. We need your help in proving her innocence.
Well, what's it to you?
Well, he's her lawyer, and all Mr. Mason wants to do is just to help him.
Oh, that's right. I read about you. Harry Mason?
How do you do, Agnes? Now...
Oh, say, well, you're the lawyer who got the policeman's daughter off. What was her name? Nora Tragg, wasn't
she? She was innocent, too.
Oh, I know. I saw the pictures in the tabloid. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Mason.
Well, thank you, Agnes. Now, will you help us?
Oh, sure. Anything at all. Unless Mrs. Powertech is up with me. But I have told everything I know.
Well, it's just possible that you know more than you yourself realize.
What's that mean?
Well, for example, how long have you been taking care of Peel's apartment?
Well, I haven't lately, not since almost a month before he was murdered.
But you used to clean it.
Oh, every Sunday. Oh, what a pain in the neck that was. He had to have it cleaned on Sunday. And not even on the Lord's Day would he let me rest.
Only one day a week?
Oh, that was him. He only let me in on Sundays while he was in the room.
Oh, that's... Della, give me that picture.
He ought to.
Agnes, Did you ever see this woman?
Let me see. Nice looking, isn't she? We think so.
Did you ever see her, Agnes?
Oh, I don't think so.
No, wait, Bella, don't get excited.
Is she the one they've got down in the jail?
Yes.
Don't look to me like she'd kill anyone.
She wouldn't. And she didn't.
Here's the picture. Thank you. I wish I could help you, Mr. Mason, and that girl in the picture, but...
But you have already.
Huh? How?
Agnes, I understand that Mr. Palmer, or Field, had the lock changed on his door.
Well, that's right. About 3 weeks before he got his.
You know why?
Well, because I told him I was going to get a substitute to clean his room on Sundays, and he got all excited and swore on his lock changed.
Oh? How did you happen to look for a substitute?
Well, I didn't look for her. She looked for me. Oh, Mr. Mason, you...
No, let's not jump to any conclusions at all. Tell me, how did you get in touch with this woman?
I said I didn't, and I didn't.
Well, then how did she get in touch with you?
Oh, I don't know. We started talking.
In this building?
Yeah, in the hall here. She said she needed money and she'd like to get Sunday work.
Oh.
Said her husband slept most of Sunday, so she wouldn't feel bad about leaving the kids.
Kids?
She had 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. You remember her name, Agnes?
She never told me.
Now, Agnes, think. Did you tell her whose apartment you cleaned on Sunday?
Well, I think so. Must have.
Was it the woman whose picture we just showed you, Agnes?
Well, now, Miss, I told you I never saw that woman before. This one was different.
How?
Well, not so young or pretty, and her hair was lighted, too.
Oh, blonde?
Sandy color.
And she has a husband and 2 children.
Well, that's what she said.
Did she, was she well dressed?
Oh, no. The stocking had a darn, I remember, and she looked like she could use work.
Mm-hmm. How big was she?
Oh, I don't know, maybe my size. Big enough to handle the job, and she said she needed extra money and to have her boys' teeth straightened.
Oh, she told you that?
Well, sure. There wasn't anything wrong with our deal. I wanted to stay home Sundays, and she needed work, and as long as she lived just a few blocks away, well, I figured why not. But Mr. Power doesn't know, can't hurt her.
Agnes.
Someone coming down the hall, Chief. We better start the elevator.
All right.
Why, I do believe it's Mr. Mason.
Well, Miss Whitlock.
Well, how clever of you to remember me, Mr. Mason, after our so brief meeting.
Well, you remembered my name.
Oh, but I'm not a celebrated criminal lawyer.
Oh, you're just as celebrated in your own way.
Oh?
My secretary, Mrs. Reese.
Yes, isn't it? I suppose there's no need to ask what you're doing in this building, Mr. Mason. That is, if the papers tell the truth, that you're defending the woman who murdered poor Mr. Peel.
I'm defending a young woman who did not murder Mr. Peel, Miss Whitlock.
Of course. I'm afraid I put that rather stupidly. So now you're going about the halls looking for clues.
Well, from the looks of things, I don't think there are any left.
Oh, you mean because of the maid? Well, judging by the way she cleans my apartment, I'm sure the clues are still here. May I ask the name of your client?
Well, the police will release her name in time.
Well, it must be fascinating work, getting up in courtrooms, asking questions. I almost wish I were the murderess, just so I could have you to defend me. Nice to see you again, Mr. Mason. And I do wish you luck.
Oh, thank you. What, Bella?
I suppose I should just jump in the action.
For what?
Slapping a mink.
Bella, what a nasty thing to say about another woman.
I was talking about her coat.
Oh.
Honestly, it makes mine look like alley cat. And when you think of a woman like Martha Smith, just an ordinary working girl, beating herself to death to pay off blackmail, while a woman like Alan Whitlock, the notorious Alan Whitlock, just ripped flatten a mink, well, I could... Oh, let's get out of here before I start getting sore, right?
Perry Mason, brought to you by Tide. T-I-D-E. Tide. Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle. Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Perry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice. T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap.
Hold on now, Franny. There's some pretty wonderful new soaps.
I know it.
And some absolutely sensational new sudsing products.
I know that too, Bob. But I also know that Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them.
Yes, and I know it too, Franny. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. That's because Procter & Gamble's Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film, too. Yet, with all this extraordinary cleaning power, Tide is safe, truly safe, for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, pillowcases, and towels whiter than any other washing product known. Keeps them white, too, week after week. Never turns them yellow. And all this goes for your whole family wash, too. So when you choose a washing product, remember this. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Tide.
Tide is dirt out, T-I-D-E, Tide.
About 8:30 p.m., and Walter Bott, forewarned that justice is fast catching up with him, is taking quick countermeasures. These countermeasures involve Elise Scott, the girl who is so amazingly like Helen Henderson, and as you know, psychologist Dr. Marilyn Irma Schneider. We're going to visit Walter in a few moments, hear more of his strange and terrible scheme, but first to Perry Mason, who's making plans of his own. A moment ago, Perry, accompanied by his secretary, Della Street, walked into the office of Homicide Lieutenant Tragg, where we hear...
You two sit down any place.
Lieutenant Tragg,
Yeah,
would you like to make me very, very grateful?
sure, if I don't have to move.
Now, will you say it's all right if I open a window?
Oh, I'll do it for you. You too warm?
Oh, it's cigar smoke.
Really? Is it that bad?
Oh.
I realized it was so thick.
No, in a way, it's a shame to open it, Tragg.
Huh?
Think of the cigars you'd save.
Yes, all you have to do now is inhale. You don't need to light another one.
Very funny.
Well, anyway, thanks. I'm certainly grateful.
And it's not only cigar smoke you smell.
Oh?
The deputy commissioner just paid me a visit.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, nice. What you smell is my hide burning.
Trouble, huh?
Plenty. All upset about no progress on Golik's murder.
Oh, but couldn't you...
Couldn't I tell the commissioner the case is about to break, that in a few hours we're going to arrest the killer, and the killer is probably the most important crook in the country? I could not.
Must have been quite a temptation.
It was.
Probably would have been safe to tell him.
Probably.
Tragg feels that the promise is promised, Ellen.
Yeah, and, well, I think this deputy commissioner would have kept quiet, but, you know, guys talk.
Since we're this close to where we're going, you used very good judgment, Tragg.
Huh? We're all set?
Grand jury meets in the morning.
Good.
So, after you and I iron out a few details...
My men are all ready, Mason. We'll pick up Walter Bott as soon as I get a flash the indictment has been returned.
Good. And in line with that...
Yeah?
You have Bott followed?
Well, it's been a loose surveillance. We've kept up with him pretty well. We didn't want to make him suspicious.
Yeah, I understand. However, in the morning...
Yeah?
You can have your men start to move in.
Expecting something, Perry?
No, not expecting, but... Bott has interests all over the country.
Yes, I'll say.
And we don't want him leaving on a business trip just before an indictment is returned.
Uh-huh.
All right, Mason, I'll pass the word.
And there's another angle, Tragg. You know, of course, that Helen Henderson will most likely have to appear before the grand jury.
Yeah, I've been thinking about her. Couldn't you present her sworn statement, keep her out of sight?
Well, I'm going to try, but I'm afraid that's a little like your experience with the deputy commissioner.
What?
Helen's deposition saying that she saw Bott commit murder might be enough, but I think they'll want to hear it from her own mouth. When you come right down to it, once we go before the grand jury, the cat is out of the bag. There'll be no chance for secrecy then. So I don't want Bott to have even an hour's notice if we can help it.
Well, there won't be any delay at my end.
Good. We'll get rolling as fast as possible.
Of course, Helen will have a stronger effect on the jury than any statement.
Yeah, I guess you're right. She's got to be there.
Yes, she has to be there, and she has to be protected. Now, I'll need another detail of your men, Tragg.
All right, how many and where?
We'll use the detail at Trainer Street. They can escort Helen to and from the courtroom, but you'll need at least one more detail. For cars in front and cars behind.
The whole treatment, huh, Perry?
Yes. Now, as for the schedule. The jury meets at 9:30. Our party should arrive at the East Corridor at 9:28.
Yeah, I got it.
The detail you've posted in the building can take over then.
Right.
Golly, you sound like you're planning a military campaign.
We can't take chances. Bart will make a move, Della.
I should say not. So, can you think of anything else, Trag?
No, that should cover it.
Della? Think of anything we haven't covered?
No. No, I can't, Perry.
Okay, Trag, you handle the details. We'll see you later.
And so as Perry Mason and Homicide Lieutenant Tragg complete their final arrangements, lawyer Joseph Gerhardt Frederick Camp leads a tall, angular woman into Walter Bott's luxurious apartment. Now, they enter the vestibule.
You'll have to wait here for a moment, Dr. Schneider. I'll tell him we've arrived.
All right.
Ah, Joseph.
She's outside, Walter.
Dr. Schneider. Good. Bring her in.
All right. But, Walter,
Yes?
you won't like her. She's a cold fish.
Bring her in, Joseph.
All right, Dr. Schneider. He'll see you now. Just walk right up to the desk, Doctor.
So, you're Marilyn Irma Schneider, Ph.D., I believe.
I don't know your name,
That's true.
but I assume that you're responsible for my freedom.
To be scientifically accurate, my money is responsible.
Even more accurately, about $25,000 of your money, if Mr. Kemp is to be believed. To say nothing of what you paid Mr. Kemp.
It all comes to a sizable amount, Doctor.
Well, I don't say thank you.
What?
I said I don't say thank you.
Well, of all...
Wait, Joseph. It really doesn't matter, Doctor, but now that you've made a point of it, why not?
You're no philanthropist.
Analyzing my character, Doctor.
Looking at facts. Psychologists deal in facts. And the fact is obvious that I'm expected to repay you.
Well, didn't Mr. Camp explain?
In a way. But I wanted you to know that I understand the arrangement perfectly. You effected my release. Therefore, I am in your debt. I'll work to discharge my obligation.
But you're telling me you have no feeling of gratitude.
I do not. You've bought my services. That's all.
You know what I want you to do, Doctor?
In a way. Camp said something about training a girl to serve as a double.
And doesn't that interest you?
It might, under certain conditions. Under certain conditions, it could be an interesting experiment. A very interesting experiment. But...
Dr. Schneider, I believe when you fully understand, you'll be very grateful.
Yes.
I doubt that Mr. Camp explained the extent of the task we're going to put before you.
Just the outline, Walter.
I see. Dr. Schneider, you're correct. Basically, ours is a business relationship. I repaid the rather sizable amount you embezzled. Mr. Camp had the charges against you dropped, and in return, we expect... You have a task to perform, but quite aside from the business aspect, I think you'll be very pleased with this job.
Oh? Why?
Because I'm offering you the greatest experiment of your career. An opportunity an experimental psychologist has never had before. There are no limitations. No limitations. I want you to remake a personality, to remake a life. Your task will be to rip away the existing patterns of reaction and thinking, to rebuild, to recreate a totally different human being. I'm offering you clay, Dr. Schneider. Living clay for you to mold. Now, are you interested?
Yes. Yes, I'm very interested. But...
What is it?
It could be dangerous.
Dangerous? To whom?
The clay.
Oh.
You're speaking of fundamentals. Structure of the psyche. It could be...
Dangerous to the clay?
If you meant what you said. You meant what you said.
Dr. Schneider, I always mean what I say.
It's understood that I'll have a free hand.
You will.
And the danger?
Danger? I don't care as long as the job gets done. Do you care about the danger to the clay?
No.
I thought not.
There's something else, too.
Yes.
I've changed my mind.
Oh.
You were right. Now that I do understand, I am grateful.
Of course, the clay Walter Bott and Dr. Schneider referred to is Elise Scott. The girl Walter Bott once molded and trained in the image of Helen Henderson. So it's obvious that Perry Mason's precautions for his witness's safety are vitally important. But will they be enough? You better listen to us on Monday.
With so many really good washing products being used, a woman has to be given a mighty good reason before she'll switch to a new one. Well, we think we can give you the best reason in the world for changing to Tide. Listen, Procter & Gamble's Tide will get your clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. Tide leaves clothes free from dirt and more. Tide removes dingy soap film, too. Yet, with all this amazing cleaning power, Tide is truly safe for all your washable colors. In fact, Tide actually brightens soap-dull colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets white things whiter than any other washing product known. So try Tide. Watch those suds billow up. Notice how different they look and feel. And see your family wash at its cleanest best. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Tide.
Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them. T-I-D-E, Tide.
Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, is brought to you by Tide, Procter & Gamble's amazing new discovery for your whole family wash. Try Tide yourself, and you too will agree you've never used anything like it. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System. Perry Mason, brought to you by Tide. T-I-D-E, Tide. Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, dramatized by Irving Bendig. Perry Mason, defender of human rights, champion of all those who seek justice.
T-I-D-E. Tide is Procter & Gamble's new Wash Day Miracle.
Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap.
Hold on now, Franny. There's some pretty wonderful new soaps.
I know it.
And some absolutely sensational new sudsing products.
I know that too, Bob. But I also know that Tide gets clothes cleaner than all of them.
Yes, and I know it too, Franny. Tide gets clothes cleaner than any soap, any other suds, any other washing product known. That's because Procter & Gamble's Tide not only leaves clothes free from dirt, it removes dingy soap film too. Yet, with all this extraordinary cleaning power, Tide is safe, truly safe for all your washable colors. What's more, Tide actually brightens soap-dulled colors. And in hardest water, Tide gets sheets, pillowcases, and towels whiter than any other washing product known. Keeps them white, too, week after week. Never turns them yellow. And all this goes for your whole family wash, too. So, when you choose a washing product, remember this. No soap, no other suds, no other washing product known will get your clothes as clean as Procter & Gamble's Tide.
Tide is dirt out. T-I-D-E, Tide.
Helen Henderson, and the police are about to pay off. Right now, as Mason, Della, and Helen come out of the grand jury room, surrounded by a guard of husky policemen, Helen, for once, is all smiles. She nods a bright goodbye to Perry and Della as they detach themselves from the little marching group. Now, as the lawyer and his secretary watch the group disappear around a turn in the corridor, Mason says,
You spoke to Tragg personally, Della?
Mm-hmm.
Told him that an indictment has been returned?
Uh-huh.
Well, what did he say?
Oh, boy.
Is that all?
If he said any more, I didn't hear it because the good lieutenant hung up.
Well, I guess he was in a hurry to get started.
Very much of a hurry. He should be at Waterbox in no more than 15 minutes, Chief. Well, you're right. It has started.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get back to the office.
All right. What's the matter, Della?
I don't know. Reaction, maybe.
Hmm?
Well, here we've been working like mad to get enough evidence against Walter Bott. Working like mad to get started. And what do? Make a phone call to Tragg, and we are started. I guess the getting ready for something like this is always harder than the actual fight itself.
What's on your mind, Della?
Just told you.
No. Come on now. I know you better than that. What's on your mind?
Helen.
I thought so. She'll be safe.
Even after Bott knows she saw him kill Goldie?
Mr. Bott is going to jail.
I know, Chief.
And if it's humanly possible, I'm going to keep him in jail. Oh, in line with that.
Yes?
I wonder if it wouldn't be wise to phone the assistant district attorney.
Oh, look at the clock.
Hmm?
9:45. Nova won't be in his office until 10.
Oh. Well, all right. Get back to our office. We'll phone him from there.
Now, as Perry Mason and Della return to their office, and Helen Henderson, under heavy guard, returns to the house on Trainer Street where Mason is keeping her. As Homicide Lieutenant Tragg, armed with a murder warrant, approaches Walter Bott's apartment. Inside that apartment, we hear.
Walter. Walter.
Yes, Joseph.
I came as soon as I heard.
Oh. I know. The police are on their way with a warrant for my arrest.
On a murder charge.
So Huey informed me.
And you sit there
And play the piano. Joseph, now you're talking like Truck. I attended to several matters before I started to play. For example, these reports. Dr. Schneider.
Well, she hasn't started training that girl yet.
Well, not quite, but she's almost ready to start. Dr. Schneider is a methodical woman, Joseph. She believes in leaving as little chance as I believe in leaving. So, as these reports testify, before she starts making Miss Scott over in the image of Helen Henderson, she made a complete series of psychological tests. For example, this personality profile.
What?
Outline of Miss Scott's character. Here we have the highlights and the low spots. The strengths and weaknesses of Miss Scott's character.
Very interesting, I'm sure, Walter, but don't you think we should discuss what's going to happen?
While I'm gone? Truck has his instruction.
Yes, I know, but Truck isn't qualified.
Truck has taken care of things for a few hours before.
A few hours?
I said I don't believe in leaving things to chance.
I thought certainly you knew.
Knew I couldn't get bail.
Not just you, Walter. But anyone indicted for first-degree murder is denied bail.
I'll get bail. I'll get bail just because I'm me.
What are you getting at, Walter?
Joseph, my arrest is going to surprise a lot of people. Some who thought I was too powerful to be touched are going to be shocked.
It's true.
After this shock will come a thought. Can't you guess what it'll be?
Why, I don't know, Walter. That is...
You mean you don't like to say?
Well...
You don't like to say because some of my men are going to begin thinking and wondering if Walter Bott is finished. They'll wonder when I'm arrested. And if I'm kept in jail like a common criminal, refused bail, the thinking could become more definite. Dangerous ideas, Joseph.
Well...
This is no time for my organization to be weakened by lack of faith in me. So I'll demonstrate that Walter Bott is just as powerful as he was before he was charged with murder. I'll get bail.
But
I will because I must.
I can see the necessity, Walter, but...
You don't see how I'll arrange it?
Frankly, I don't.
It's all a matter of being methodical, not leaving anything to chance.
Excuse me.
Yes? Oh, send him in.
Who is it, Walter?
Dr. Leslie Bruce.
Who?
Heart specialist. You must have heard of him.
The hearts? Oh, of course, but, what's he doing here?
He wants to do me a favor.
Bruce? Do you a favor?
Is it so incredible, Joseph?
Well, no, Walter, but Bruce is a big man. That's Bruce, all right.
Well, Mr. Bott? Oh, Doctor, this is my lawyer, Joseph Camp.
Oh, it's a pleasure, sir. I thought I was to see you in private, Mr. Bott.
Oh, don't be concerned about Camp, Doctor.
I really...
Mr. Camp is my trusted associate.
This is a confidential matter.
It will remain confidential.
And as I said, I wanted to see you alone.
You don't understand, Bruce. I trust Mr. Camp. In fact, I was just telling Mr. Camp why you're helping me.
No, you can't.
No, Doctor. Can't I tell him about the investigation I had quashed for you, so many years ago? That slight irregularity in your narcotics inventory?
You shouldn't have repeated that, Mr. Bott.
Let's get down to business. Have you the preparation? Bruce!
Yes, I brought it.
What is this, Walter? You'll see.
I have it in my bag. In this small green vial. Here.
All right.
There are 2 tablets in the vial, Mr. Bott. They're tasteless, odorless. Take them with water. You know their effect.
Yes.
What are they, Walter?
Why, an amatol derivative, I believe.
It doesn't matter what they are, Mr. Camp. Suffice it to say, they will accomplish the desire.
As long as I take them with water.
Well, I suppose that's all.
Almost.
I'll be leaving. What did you say?
I want you available when I call. See that you are available.
But, Mr. Bott, couldn't you get someone else? That is,
No, really, Bruce, I'm counting on your eminent reputation to smooth the way.
Well,
just remain in your office.
I will.
Oh, and Bruce, I hope you didn't do anything foolish, such as providing a dangerous overdose.
No, Mr. Bott. I would have if I dared. But I don't dare.
That's all. You may go.
Well, goodbye, Dr. Bruce.
Well, that should take care of everything, Joseph.
Walter, I think I know what you're up to with those tablets. And I think it can work. As long as no hitch develops when you're booked.
Isn't Sergeant Davis in charge of the desk at Central Station?
Davis, well, yes, but...
Oh, I know Davis is honest, but he's friendly to us. And... Yes? I see. Oh, no. Oh, don't try to stop. Yes, I want to see them. We'll soon learn how my scheme works, Joseph.
Then it's...
Yes, they're outside now with the warrant. Joseph, it's started. Fight between Perry Mason and Walter Bott started long, long ago. Walter Bott is correct. The final battle has now begun. And as we know, this is a battle to the finish.
Perry Mason, the famous character created by Earl Stanley Gardner, is brought to you by Tide, Procter & Gamble's amazing new discovery for your whole family wash. Try Tide yourself, and you too will agree you've never used anything like it. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.